In this edition of Generations, we talk to parents with children who have special needs and how to plan for their future, making sure their needs are covered emotionally and financially. And Judy Jenks from seniorcenterct.org talks about alternative Christmas gifts. Hello, I'm Brian Scott Smith and welcome to Generations, a new podcast for people of your generation. If you're a parent with a child that has special needs, you know the concerns you have about their future care once you're gone. It's not something that's easy to talk about, but future planning doesn't have to be a minefield, as I found out. So joining us on the Generations podcast is Kathleen Stauffer, CEO of the ARC Eastern Connecticut, and also Mary Ellen Snyder, who's the mother of an adult child with special needs and is also a working nurse, as well as a board member of the ARC Eastern Connecticut. To you both, thank you ever so much for joining us on Generations. Kathleen, I want to start with you first. It's always good to know the origin story, as it were, of this amazing organisation that you lead. Just tell us a little bit about it.
The ARC Eastern Connecticut was founded in 1952 by parents whose children in those days weren't welcome in our public schools. And you can imagine if you're a parent or you have a brother or a sister and medical professionals are telling you that that person can't learn, and you know that the person can. And in Connecticut, we define intellectual disability as an IQ of 70 or less. The person has capabilities similar to yours and mine, maybe needs a little bit more time to learn, maybe needs a little bit more support. So this was a very offensive concept to parents, and they founded an education program for their children, which with $10.69, and now we are Eastern Connecticut's preferred provider of services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, everything from housing to transportation to finding a job.
And also tell us, recently, of course, there was a merger between the ARC New London County and the ARC Quinnebog Valley, which now makes the ARC Eastern Connecticut. Why did you do it, and what does that now mean for the ARC Eastern Connecticut?
Well, both organizations were founded around the same time by families for very similar reasons, and those of us here in Eastern Connecticut understand that our geography really makes us natural allies. We aren't big cities. It's the service delivery challenges and the need for transportation and some of the challenges with the transportation infrastructure in this state we share, and we had always been sister agencies. We work together anyway, and now that belts are tighter and funding is more challenging to attain, we decided it made more sense to join forces and work together, and it's been working very well.
And I believe it now makes you the largest ARC in Connecticut, is that correct?
Yes, we are the largest chapter of the ARC in Connecticut. There are about a dozen chapters west of the Connecticut River, and there's one east, and that would be us.
I'm going to turn now to Mary Ellen Snyder, who also joins us as well. As we said at the top of this, Mary Ellen, you're a mother of an adult child with special needs. Tell us a little bit about that. It's great whenever you have, a parent. Why did you decide all those years ago that you wanted to adopt this young lady?
Well, I come from a large family. There were 11 of us, and most of them had children. I was the oldest girl and kind of figured I'd done my child thing with all my brothers and sisters. And then I became a nursery nurse, took care of all those babies, and I thought, I had my baby fix. But as the biological clock started ticking, I thought, I think I really do want to be a mother. And because I was single, I had to work with an agency and find a country that would let a single person adopt a baby. And I found my way to El Salvador, country with a very bad civil war going on, and adopted Abby when she was 5 months old.
Tell us a little bit about her, and she, I believe, goes to the ARC Eastern Connecticut. Is that correct?
She works here. She's an employee here, which is very nice. She, it was clear as she was growing up. I didn't know initially when I adopted her that she had any kind of disability, although I suspected it earlier than, say, the doctors did. And she has some areas where she's very high functioning, and she's very verbal, but she also has some challenges that could make life difficult for her without an agency like the ARC.
And why did you choose the ARC, Mariella? Because you're also a board member, so clearly you believe very much in this,
Right.
this amazing organisation and the work it does.
When she was getting out of high school, the high school had a very good transition program tailored just for her. They put her in 3 work sites, and that she worked actually all kind of at the same time in a week. And so I started, when that was going to be coming to an end, I started looking for an organization that could help her to find a job. And I went and interviewed at a couple, and I just liked what I heard at the ARC and their philosophies. And it so happened that they had an opening for a receptionist, and she interviewed for it, and she got the job. So she's now been with the ARC for, I think it was 15 years last month, I'm pretty sure.
And Brian, the ARCs do stand apart in some ways from other support agencies for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, keeping in mind that we were founded by families. And the goal always is for full inclusion in a person's community with a minimal amount of support. And so our mission statement is in partnership for full equality. And that's attractive not just to families, but to the people we serve who, as they grow up, really want a life of their own.
The other thing, of course, is all of this takes money. None of this is for free, and the money has to come from somewhere. And sadly, state funds seem to be dwindling in the social services sector. So, Kathleen, how do you combat that, and also, have a voice loud enough to actually say to the state or representatives, this is important. We need money.
Well, one of the things we do is, for example, the merger, joining forces so we are a powerful force for advocacy here in the state of Connecticut on behalf of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. But ideally, one of the things that we do best and that we're proudest of is we work with people with IDD. That's what we call intellectual and developmental disability. We work with people with IDD to speak for themselves. And so we are very clear about what the advantages of investment can be in the long term for a person with IDD. For example, people with IDD can go to school for 21 years as opposed to 18. That extra time is really valuable for vocational training and getting the academic things down. And then that person can be placed in a real job. So what we do is we help people lead more independent lives, which means that people actually need less support rather than more. And so that's one of the big things that we do is we make sure people are educated about what supports can and can't do, and more importantly, the investment that supports up front can be over the long term.
One of the important things, when Abby came to work at the ARC, she had way more hours of support here at the time, but gradually with the right kind of support, and that's key, it has to be the right kind of support. She now has 5 hours a week of support. Somebody meets with her, a consistent person meets with her every morning to help her organize the jobs that she's been given or the work and plan for the day. But then she's able, with some natural supports in the building of people kind of keeping an eye on her, she's able to do the job.
Now, obviously, we all grow older. We all look to our futures and, consider exactly how we're going to look after ourselves and what services we're going to need. But also, when you have children with, with special needs, I suppose there's that question of what happens if you should pass away and they are still, there. What happens to them? Who then looks after them? I mean, so what's the thinking behind that, Mary Ellen?
Well, I would say that's probably one of the biggest worries for most of us as we get older, is what's going to happen. It's a lot of work on my part to keep her in her own apartment, to advocate for her when need be at work, if that's necessary, to make sure she's safe and protected. And I always worry about who's going to do that later. And when I adopted Abby, I appointed a guardian, and I had a will, and I appointed one of my sisters, who's younger than I am, and that was fine, except that now she's on the West Coast, and has 3 grown children and grandchildren. There's no way that she could be her guardian. So then I appointed a sister-in-law that we're very close to. But she's older than I am now, so that's an issue. So I, of course, like every other parent, stay awake at night worrying about this sometime. But I've kind of sprung into action and started doing some things that I hope will help protect her future. One of them is something called a letter of intent, and it's a big document, many pages, and I'm working on it now. And it lays out what are her dreams, what are her goals, what are the things that she needs to be happy, what are the things that would make her very unhappy and would not work with her. What she has some money because she works. I've had to set up some things, and maybe we can talk about that, but set up some things. But I need to let whoever her guardian is at the time know exactly what's set up for her, where her bank accounts are, what her health problems are, who her doctors are. It's a comprehensive document, and I could, if anybody wanted to get it, I could, if they called the ARC, they could put them in touch with me, and I could help them get that document. I'm hoping the ARC, a group like the ARC, would take over, not as her guardian, but help to champion that and they would probably provide in-home supports. That's who I would want to do that. And follow that document, I would hope, of what is important. I certainly know her better than anybody.
I'm going to turn to Kathleen in just a moment to talk about more of these mechanisms, because I believe there are quite a few, and I know between the two of you want to obviously get those across. But I just want to ask you one quick question. What does Abby say about this? I mean, obviously you have conversations with Abby, so has Abby got any thoughts as to what she wants?
Yes, she does, and we do talk about it. I had a really serious heart problem in 2012, or I could easily have died. And I think then we have talked about that issue. And, I try to reassure her that I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but we never know. And I want to be sure that she's happy. And we've talked about what she needs to make her happy many times. And I know she wants to stay in her apartment. She'd like to keep her job. She is very, very active in Special Olympics and at the Y with exercise programs. She wants a pet. She has a cat, and that's really important to her. These are things that would make her happy, and those kinds of things are in that document.
So, Kathleen, let's turn to you. What are some of the mechanisms that you have available to you at the ARC Eastern Connecticut to obviously deal with situations like this, to advise or guide?
Well, I think, one of the things I would want to emphasize is that the document that Mary Ellen is talking about is really driven by Abby.
Right.
By Abby's wants, Abby's needs, and the choices Abby wants to make. And so that would be, should it become necessary, something we would really emphasize. Now, in terms of those mechanisms that we're talking about, I think it's very vulnerable for all of us. It's a vulnerable feeling to think about what would happen if we're not here. And it's not just in terms of, I have a child with special needs. It's just, we all have every day, we're a day older. And so it's not a comfortable thing for many people to think about. And then you have parents who have children with special needs. It becomes especially critical. And we find that, when the parents founded the ARC, their kids were younger. And now those young people have gotten older. And the parents are thinking, oh my goodness, what happens when I'm not here anymore? And so Mary Ellen and you and I were talking before we sat down here about things like ABLE accounts, and Mary Ellen has set all those things up, and I think she can explain pretty clearly, how that works. There's also, special needs trusts, and there are attorneys who specialize in that. And you need to make sure you have, an ethical person who has a track record, and I would suggest parents go to other parents. People go to people who have been through it. We can connect those, we can be the connector in that sense. And I think one of the things that I hear a lot is ordinary parents saying, what am I don't have a lot of money. What can I do? And so while parents do set up special needs trusts and self-fund them, and if you can do that, that's really wonderful. But I would really encourage the average person not to assume that because they don't have a lot of money that they can't set up a special needs trust, because there is a way of funding it through, say, for example, life insurance. And so there is a way to get this done. And my concern is that families aren't doing it because they think they can't. And we're here to talk about ways that will allow them
initially,
to do it.
I thought we had gone to a workshop a long time ago that was very not satisfying. That basically made it sound like you had to have a lot of money to set up a special needs trust and fund it now. Well, I walked out of there saying, I don't have any money to fund that now. And I don't have a lot of money in the future, but I do have a house that hopefully will have equity. I do have some money in a 401k. Not a lot. I'm far from wealthy. I'm 74 and still working. So I do have it set up because I'm hoping there will be something to leave there. And the Special Needs Trust is special in one way that I can talk a little bit about the ABLE account, but the Special Needs Trust, whatever's in there, you specify who that's going to go to. If Abby, my daughter, passed away, who would get that money? It does not go to the state. An ABLE account, and I'm not saying enable, it's a ABLE account, is a special account. It's new. It's federal. It's every state recognizes this thing called an ABLE account, where you can, the person can, Abby can put money in. If she'd like to put a little money every week from her paycheck, she can do that. I could, if I wanted. If she gets an income tax return, for example, that can go in there. And it's money to be used for their health and welfare. We don't put $10,000 a year in there, but I think it's $10,000 a year that you can put in that trust, and it could grow to $100,000. You probably wouldn't want to do that because after the person passes away, that money goes back to the state to pay back the benefits that they've provided all these years. So we just have a small amount in there that she can use. It doesn't count towards the money they're allowed to have to get benefits, and it's separate. So even if you had $10,000 in there, it would not count. They wouldn't lose their benefits from it, and that's one of the benefits of having one. But it's like they can go on a vacation if they need a computer. They can use it to spend on a computer. We got her an electric toothbrush. Just little things and sometimes a little bit bigger things. So we have that set up.
Sounds like it's quite a juggling act. So to be able to have access to somebody like, obviously, an organisation, the ARC Eastern Connecticut, that deals with this day in, day out. Kathleen, I think you mentioned you've done workshops. The ARC Eastern Connecticut has done workshops in the past. Can you talk us through that? Because, information obviously is imperative to making, good decisions.
Absolutely. Well, and as a board member, Mary Ellen has been instrumental in pulling together the people who can provide advisement and also help people set up ABLE accounts, help people set up special needs trusts, whether you're funding it through insurance or you're funding it through the equity in your house or what other means you might have. She brings the people together. We sit down in a seminar. We talk to people over a course of an hour and a half, 2 hours. And usually we have about a dozen parents every time we do one of these seminars. And there are people out there who do it. I would strongly advise that people talk to parents who have successfully set this up and not just go out looking without really somebody walking with you who's already done it. Because as we know, I like to think most people are honest, but better to go with people who've proven their trustworthiness through families that we already are working with.
And also, of course, I suppose the very valid point to make is, regardless of the fact that you have merged, clearly you're not going anywhere. 1952, this has been set up. It's been going for a long time. Look for an agency that has an established record. I'm guessing they can even check with the state as well if they want to make sure that, that agency is in compliance with all sorts of things. So would you advise, obviously, a bit of due diligence as well from that point of view by parents?
Actually, our compliance record's online. So you can go to Connecticut Department of Developmental Disabilities, dds.connecticut.gov, and look. And there's a place on that website that says for providers, and Our quality scores are there, and I'm happy to say that ours are about 100%. So yes, we are accountable. We've received state funding, and we are regulated, and we are measured, and as well we should be. And we're proud of our scores. We work very hard for them, and I think, yes, absolutely, you want to check out an agency before you engage with it.
I think one of the things that I'm interested in and hoping to help with, and I've started it through these workshops, is setting up groups for parents, parent support. I know that support groups have been hard to get off the ground. We tried to start one a couple of years ago because most parents of kids with or adults with special needs are very busy. And it needs to be pretty local, whether you're north or south, and we'd be willing to set up, for example, this workshop that we've had in the south if they wanted us to, if there was enough interest. But also I've learned everything that I need to do through parents. Nobody tells you when they turn 18, how to go about getting Social Security or Medicare, Medicaid, or whatever it is. Nobody tells you. I mean, there's just not give you a packet and say, okay, here's what you need to do from now on in many cases. And so I think parents talking to parents is the best thing. And so we'd like to do that. But for now, they can always contact the ARC, and we can find a parent who can help them with whatever their issue is at the time.
And for more information about the services of the ARC Eastern Connecticut, visit their website at thearcect.org. Joining us, as always, is Judy Jenks from seniorcenterct.org. Judy, lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you as well.
Final podcast of the year.
Oh, can you believe another year has gone by?
It's incredible, isn't
it? Yes. And we're just about 2 years old, and that's even more amazing.
Exactly. I mean, time has flown. We thoroughly enjoy doing these. We have so many amazing people. We have, of course, your lovely odes every month as well on various topics. And it's just going absolute gangbusters.
Yes, it is. And there's more topics to talk about.
We
already have a long list.
We do. So what is your ode for the last podcast of 2019?
Well, it's one of the last tasks we do in the year, and that is gift giving. It's that time of year where we're thinking about what to buy or make for gifts. What's the right thing? What do they want? What will they use? For some folks, you know exactly what to buy them, and then for others, you have no idea. Some people seem to have everything they want and never ask for anything. Even when you ask them what they want, they still won't tell you. So you have to go searching and wondering and worrying as to what to get. And oftentimes it's not so obvious gifts we can give, like fuel oil. Wouldn't it be cool to get 150 gallons of fuel oil? And who would say no to that? The newspaper. If they read the newspaper every day or just on Sundays, they'll be thinking of you as they read it if you give them the subscription to the newspaper. Amazon Prime. The membership, yep, that's my gift. I use it all the time. So, that would be really great for me. Trash removal, AAA, the membership for your auto. So if you break down or whatever, that could be a great gift. Do they feed the birds? Give them bird seed. Do they have a pet? Give them pet food. Maybe pay for a visit to the vet. The hairdresser, the barbershop, we all do that, and that could be a really good gift. You could just, stop into wherever they go and maybe create an account for them and just put money on the account. Stamps. That's a really good one, and sometimes we think that's not so cheap, so that could be a great gift. Cable TV. Now, Netflix. That, those kinds of things could be a great gift. Or something to do with their hobby. Are they a quilter? So you could give them a gift certificate to the fabric store. If they're a woodworker, maybe Home Depot. The senior center membership, those are very affordable, and maybe you've wanted them to go to the senior center and they haven't gone, so if you gave them a membership, perhaps they'd go. Or maybe the senior center has a trip account. You could give them money towards day trips. And then I do this for my mother. I save $1 bills and then give her a stack of $1 bills to use for lunch at the senior center. And these are just a few of the ideas. And then also you could maybe make coupons that they could redeem for things like a ride anywhere they want. Maybe go leaf peeping or visit down memory lane. Go to church with them. Invite them over, have dinner, watch a movie, play a game. Include them on one of your family outings. Take them to the Little League game, the Scout meeting, the school play. And you don't have to spend much to make somebody's day. Often it's free to make them happy.
I know who I'm coming to now for my gift ideas. I'm just going to say, what an absolutely awesome list of things.
Well, excellent.
There was. There was some stuff in there. I'm like, yeah, no, actually, I know somebody who would appreciate that. How much effort did you put into that? That is an incredible list of seriously, I'm not blowing smoke here. That is an incredible list of things, of gifts, which, like you said at the very beginning, if you know somebody who sort of seems to have everything or they're difficult to buy, these are really good gifts.
Yeah. Somehow, I was thinking about this. I had seen something, so I had a couple of ideas sort of floating in my head, and it was cold, and I thought fuel oil. And it's like, wouldn't that be a great gift?
Well, no, absolutely, because actually I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was actually a pharmacist, and they were saying that they did the whole Medicare open enrollment sort of like analysis with somebody, with a couple, and by talking to them and going through their various plans, he basically saved them $600 between them. $600 is a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
And that is your fuel oil you've just been talking about. I mean, that's, that's incredible sorts of money. But yeah, fuel oil, what a great gift to get somebody.
Netflix. For whatever reason, my husband and I don't have Netflix. So if somebody gave us that for a gift, we might find, wow, we really do like that, and we want to, keep getting it and then pay for it ourselves. And then, some of these, like, go to church with somebody.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
The other thing I liked was, like the hairdressing thing. I mean, we all have to get our hair cut. It's not like, I'll think about getting it. We have to get our hair done sort of thing and cut. What a great idea. Like you said, go in if you know where they go and, try and set up an account or do something. Again, what a great gesture. And it's something really practical that they are going to so enjoy.
And it's long term.
Yeah.
It's not just that shirt that they open and maybe put in a drawer or wear once or twice or whatever. These are things that are going to keep on giving.
Yeah.
And you can do this not only at Christmas, but you could do it for their birthdays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, whatever. So, you could pick out let's say the newspaper. You picked out the newspaper. So you give them, 3 months at Christmas, you give them 3 months at their birthday, and then so on and so forth. You've given them the paper for the whole year, and you broke it down so it's very affordable for you.
Yeah. No, absolutely. People often get a little bit funny about just giving, the gift cards.
Yeah.
Or putting cash into a card because people feel that, I didn't put any thought into it sort of thing.
Right.
Hey, it is still a nice gift at the end of the day.
Yes.
I think sometimes we beat ourselves up over that. But these certainly go beyond, just getting the gift card. It's nice to open up and, get a gift card from somewhere where you do shop. But if you open up, a card and it says, your hairdressing or, as you say, the newspaper or the AAA membership. I mean, let's face it, that's a great thing to have living here in New England.
Yes.
What great things, to open up. Because I think sometimes we look at these things ourselves and think, I'll get round to doing that, and then never do.
Yes.
So if a friend of yours has suddenly decided, I'll get that for them.
Or perhaps you have a grandchild that has just gotten their driver's license.
Yeah.
Give them that AAA membership. You don't have to worry about them being stranded on the side of the road or whatever.
No, because let's face it, so many people don't know how to change a tyre when it blows. And frankly, do you want to be changing a tyre as well sometimes?
No, not on a day like today.
Exactly. It is difficult. So again, great, as you say, for your grandchildren as well. But no, amazing things. Are you a difficult person to buy Christmas gifts for?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't buy them for myself. My husband does the easy thing. He does the gift cards, and I like the gift cards. My husband and I appreciate gift cards to restaurants.
Oh, nice,
and we put them all, in this one particular place, and then we'll go through them every so often. It's like, let's go out to eat. This is a gift card from so-and-so, and so we use them all year.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, all I can say is, again, thank you for this awesome it's like Christmas list. And once we finish recording this, I think we need to have a little chat. And but do have yourself a very Merry Christmas and happy holidays and a great New Year. And we're looking forward, of course, to 2020 and yet more Great Generation podcasts.
Yes, and you too have wonderful holidays.
Thanks ever so much. That's all from this edition of Generations. Don't forget to visit seniorcenterct.org to find out what's going on in your neck of the woods. And if you want to send us a topic to talk about or want to be our guest on the podcast, drop us a line by visiting the seniorcenterct.org website. Go to the bottom of the homepage and click the How to Advertise with Us link to get in touch. From myself, Brian Scott Smith, thanks for listening and have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.